Welcome back to EPIC38. We are here again for Valorant, part of the Beacon circuit. Second time we've seen it here, and the second time that we are now on the broadcast. Had a bit of a break. You guys were graced with the dulcet tones of Summer and Rook, and now we make our return. Something a bit more raspy, a little bit more abrasive perhaps, but nevertheless, happy to be here. We have two more best of ones coming up before we swap things over back to the others, change hands one final time, and then head into the best of three for this evening.
Well, I'm excited to get there, but first, Hazza, we need to focus on what we are casting right here and now. And we have an absolute banger lined up for this one. It's Insight versus Next in Line, two of the top dogs and the last two undefeated.
Exactly, so someone is going to draw blood here, and we're not taking no for an answer because it's best of one. The overtime, potentially, if on the cards, will go as long as it takes for one of these teams to have dropped their first map. Insight versus Next in Line, like you said, two teams which you've had a chance to see already in the previous best of ones which we covered. Insight winning theirs 13-1, and then Next in Line winning theirs 13-5. That was against Jokers and Swans respectively. The other way around. Off stream, Swans actually picked up a huge result against Control, so that shakes the balance just a little bit, I think, as well. It being their first win, and then Control losing out 13-10 in that fashion. It could do a lot for the mental, and I think so could this. Whoever comes out of this game on top, you know, they've got a new target on their back.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we're talking about kind of defining the landscape of Epic Land as we get through this weekend, and I mean, there's no better definition than defining who our top dog is for one of these groups.
Yeah, exactly that. So just to reiterate who it is exactly that we have in this team and the bans that we're going to have, we can get those maps up for you now, and we get a look to see where it is we're going to be headed. Pearl straight out of the gates, banned, Split as well, Ascent, Lotus, Icebox, Haven, leaving us to Fracture with Insight starting on the attack. Cairo, how do you feel about this one? From what you've seen from Insight so far as well, I was just about to say, let's highlight some of those players. On their attacking side here for Fracture as well, any particular players on agents that we're expecting?
Yeah, I mean, Stokesy on perhaps more of the intel. That's what we've been tending to see on the initiator. Ego, obviously, one of the biggest duelists. Anguist, a massive sentinel, and I think going to be really particularly important on Fracture just because of the amount of lanes that, and entryways in towards the sites. One thing that I'll be looking for on Fracture, the IGLs. How are they going to perform? Jaff, etc. How are they going to be commanding their team? There's 4 ultimate orbs. Everyone thinks that the kind of gimmick for Fracture is that big massive rope underneath, but the bigger one is those 4 ultimates. Yeah,
it definitely is. I think rotating the ultimates there and cycling them is going to be really important. Like you mentioned, the leaders, Stokesy, the IGL for Insight, as he was on E-Masters as well. Yeah, his influence here will be huge, as will Jaff's, I think, as well. And it almost makes sense that you highlight him as a leader, perhaps not the one who will be calling the shots, but the amount of experience that he has within this group, having had a few splits in Polaris as well, I think will be very key. I'm interested to see what the comp looks like. I think Anguist is definitely a certainty to be playing on that Killjoy, and now the counterplay towards her has changed a little bit from both ends, really. The lockdown is a lot stronger because of the HP changes, which means that you probably need a Brimstone to counteract that. Whereas on the opposite end, her turret now is 100 HP instead of 150, and the lockdown that I just spoke about has moved from 7 ult points to 8.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, we've been focusing a lot on the Insight boys and what they're going to be bringing to the table. We haven't actually spoke about Next in Line yet, and we did a little bit of studying before we came on broadcast, catching up with the coach, which is Darb, and he was giving us a little insight. The fact that how they dropped Rossi, picked up Pika, and they feel as if a completely new roster. The fact that the way that we've seen Rudy, IGL, has been second to none, and they feel as if they are really thriving, and they feel underestimated in this tournament.
Yeah, I think as well, just from watching them, they look very relaxed, but also the comms are incredibly clear. And I've seen this a few times actually around the event. Sometimes, you know, you pick up on the finer details that you sometimes wouldn't otherwise. For example, like when a player dies, they drop their volume instantly, and you're just listening for what those comms are and making sure that everything's as clean as it possibly can be, especially in an environment like this when you've got, you know, a lot of noise going on. I won't point fingers at anyone necessarily. Ryan, perhaps. But yeah, you know, it can be a noisy environment. You want to try and mitigate that as much as possible, and just make sure that you're min-maxing percentage gains at every possible opportunity, as we should now be sending it in towards Fracture. But yeah, to just pick up that final bit about next in line, this is a very nice looking roster. I also want to highlight Zico on the duel list as well. Very impressive in that previous game that we casted earlier, but then also in the series that we've just seen against Looney.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think this will be a much better test of the character of next in line. But you're seeing something, Hazza. What are you seeing?
I love how you have to sort of pose that question back to me. What is it you're seeing? Like some kind of fortune teller almost. There's a crystal ball. But no, I'm just pondering for a moment this double initiator setup that we have for both teams, the Sky and the Breach. I've seen Sky used on Fracture a few times, but to sort of contrasting levels of success. I remember Barbers were, on something crazy when they had that setup with you had the Sky, but then you also had the Harbor, and this was like way before we were even looking towards putting Harbor in a double controller comp with like a Viper as well. It is single controller. Both of the teams are playing for an Astra. This is effectively a mirror comp, except for the fact that Anguist is on the Killjoy as we expected, and Jaco has been continuing that form on the Cypher. But yeah, in terms of the value you get from the Sky, I think building that ultimate with the 4 orbs that you spoke about will probably be imperative to how that works.
I think it's interesting that we're seeing Sky slowly come back into the meta, because if you think towards the likes of the new map, Lotus, Sky is starting to become a real stronghold. We're seeing it in all the rosters coming into lock-in, but as we move into Fracture, it's interesting to see both teams pick her up.
Yeah, in terms of initiators, she always was a premium, proving her worth, and we'll have to see how both of these teams can implement it into their comp. Already Stemp readying that guiding light, hiding around the box. There is a flash on the insight side as well, but should be protected from it. Has a chance for Zico to peek, but doesn't quite catch the timing. One catches the heads, however. 2 for Stemp, 1 for Zico. Rudy chiming in with a couple of his own. And there we have it. Anguist immediately placed into a 1 versus 3, the only player to travel from main. Might not even be within range of the turret. We're already seeing a fast flank coming in from Jaco, and it's a difficult situation to now work.
Not seeing the tracers, but certainly hearing the bullets that make impact just behind Anguist. Pika, the first contact. Nice. Lovely headshot. There goes Pika. There goes the initiator. It's all up to the Sentinel and the Duelist.
Yeah, Anguist coming into this tournament being one of the highest rated players from EPIC38. On Chamber that time around, it's an agent which has so much more carry potential, a little more difficult from here on the Killjoy, but in the pistol round, it's just about isolating those fights. It's already found one, but there is a crossfire now established.
It's going to be so much harder to win these fights. A peek out by Zeko just gives an option, gives a chance. The alarm bot out might make the Cypher vulnerable and try and pick up the spike. They've done it. 25 seconds. They swing out at the right time. The alarm bot goes off, but Jaiko goes off quicker.
Just looking at the replay here, it was such a nice initial contact from next in line. You felt as if the moment had maybe escaped Zeko there, but the round is eventually cleaned up. Nice attempt from Anguist, to be honest. Could maybe even have isolated the duels a little bit better, faked the footsteps back after trying to pick up the spike, but you're going into the finer details. More than anything else, we've seen some nice usages already of those Sky flashes to get into some fights, activate some duels, and we're seeing a defender's side as well, which isn't afraid to go for that initial contact and set the pace.
One thing that we have been seeing from next in line is this aggressive stance. We saw it when we were watching the last game on Icebox, and we're certainly seeing it here on Fracture as well. They're setting themselves up for success, using utility and taking the fights that they can win.
We're seeing another similar setup as well from next in line, combining their utility. You've got the spy cam outside of A, and we're just playing a contact of it with the fault line. The only issue is Insight look to be preparing for this B take instead, so Pika shouldn't be called to action just yet. It is a nice setup though, and this is something which next in line have shown a lot of times. They have good set plays from their defender's side. The attack perhaps not as tested so far.
Well, we'll need to see what Insight have cooked up right now, as they've already made their way and collected 2 of those 4 orbs. Maybe just thinking about going through arcade, but no, they drop back.
And this is something big for Insight on a round like this as well. Not just to be making sure you're not giving away as many orbs as possible, but picking up as much as you can. I think next in line should follow a similar line of thought as well, really. It's sort of making the most of the advantages that you can on what would otherwise be a throwaway.
Yeah, there's already been the Trailblazer used through Arcade just to clear it out. A nice little stun coming through, but I don't know what that actually does in terms of information, etc.
I would like to have seen them kept that more aggressive standpoint that they had. You still have the trapwire for main. There is no players inside of the site, so this should be a free plant. Anguist even taking a kill onto Zeko on the way through. No upgrades to speak of for these players just yet. Anguist isolated again, but still able to find the kill to Pika. Finally, next in line, look to come alive. Anguist still yet to be cleared from this corner, but finally will be. And there is the round for them. A little bit dicey. Looked like there could be some problems for them, but yet again, it is just from the barrel of Anguist.
I wonder if they were maybe thinking that there was going to be an execute from there, not actually realising how Insight are actually setting up across the whole map. 3 ultimate orbs plus a spike plant, that's 4, plus they've all had deaths.
Look, and Anguist, we spoke about how the changes to Killjoy mean that it's going to cost an additional point to get that lockdown. Already in the back pocket, something to be thinking about now coming into the full buy. Up against the bonus, maybe you don't want to risk it too much, but I'm liking the approach that they've had so far. Rudy on the Guardian, a little bit more premium in terms of weaponry and can certainly cause some problems, but it doesn't look like they're trying to front too much aggression here. It is actually the same setup as the previous, and when you look towards Dish, that remains to be the case.
Rudy already taking contact there, fires off a couple of volleys, but nothing quite hitting the mark. Insight already having an idea that, well, the Astra is on B, but how many else are there as well? They're starting to clear out the main position on A. I don't know if they've seen that Cypher utility, but they're certainly set up here for this A take.
They'll definitely have seen it, but just bypassed it, not chosen to interact just yet. So much space given away by next in line towards defender spawn, and this allows Ego to just post up, look for something perhaps. Finally, they look to re-challenge here towards the site, but it's already been compromised. That tripwire now long into the past. As the spike goes down, Insight even have the lockdown here to make things a little more troublesome. The peaks come out coordinated, Jaco and Stemp combine, and it's a 3 versus 3.
Time ticking away now. Here we go. All the guns are coming alive. It's Jaff. Four in this round. That's a Rolling Thunder online, has it?
Digging up a couple kills in sand, adding that to his treasures bounty. Nicely done, but I mean, that's where some of the problems arose from originally, right? You had a nice playthrough off the back of that flash yet again. Stemp finding ways to make this guy useful as he currently tops the leaderboard and has those Seekers in play. On the defender side, a little more difficult to get the same kind of value because you have to be reactive. But we will just have to see. A big one for Insight as they keep the round clean, the majority of those Vandals kept through, and you still have your lockdown, and now the Rolling Thunder brought online.
I have to give compliments to the way next in line set up after the push. They conceded the site completely, but also in that, they had 2 players on drop and then the rest in CT. They kind of forced them out into main if it had to be that way for Insight.
We have seen a mix-up here from next in line as well. They're not challenging Dish as they have before, and Anguist is respecting that. Just playing towards the bridge side of the map on his lonesome. It's a complete reverse of what we saw on the pistol round, where the majority of that push, the bulk of it, was coming through Arcade. So it seems as if Jaff's now trickling under into sewers and lining up this Rolling Thunder, but next in line are playing in a way that isn't going to feel too much repercussions from the use of this ultimate, as they have just vacated the site.
Yeah, that was a big flash. It actually gained some information, and already the bodies of next in line had repositioned in towards CT for the retake, so they might be a little bit quicker in getting this done.
This is one of the times when using the Seekers to retake will be very valuable, but Insight have already committed that lockdown. Meanwhile, Rudy is finding a kill. Fracture 5v5 on a retake of B is one that I just hate to go into as a defender-sided player, and lots of time has already been bought away.
Yeah, really has. Lockdown used, and we've already got the breach utility set up as well. The Seekers come through, and here comes all the players busting in towards the site. Litchi gets the first one on towards Rudy, and it is going to be an even trade, but Litchi is starting to go huge. Jaiko gets one back, it's 3 versus 3. The players in tower trying to defend the position, but they're starting to go through. Anguist gets one back, but the breach still out on main, or in towards CT at this position, wins it out. Well played from Jaff.
The radius of the spike is then just as well clipping the heels of Jaff as he was able to skip away from things. But Insight have leveled us up 2 apiece. That was a very, very fickle lead for Next in Line to hold on to, and they committed an ult back towards it themselves. We did see the Rolling Thunder and Lockdown invested from Insight Gaming, but such a pivotal round to win because now they've broken that economy of the defenders and have an opportunity here to just keep things rolling over. It's just so many layers of utility more than anything else once you had that site because the control was already there. Yeah,
literally getting the Seekers online that last round was massive. Oh, this is even bigger. The fact that they've got 2 upgrades as well. Stokesy still lurking about, but the reinforcements are starting to come in.
Yeah, I don't think Rudy has actually picked up the rifle here. It was just the one on the opposite side of the Nebula, but Next in Line showing us a front of some more of that aggression which they introduced in the pistol round. We have to be looking at what the early win conditions were for them because things haven't gone their way in the past couple. But already, look at this reclear from Zico. Moved all the way around through Arcade and has already ended up in sewers. So could potentially be a knife in the back of this Insight setup.
The Seekers are already going out though, so that knife might actually be blunted ever so slightly. There's bullets firing through the nebulas and all sorts of smoke. There is going to be bullets flying, and Anguist has got the first to fly. That was the upgrade, that was Zeko.
Yeah. Insight had been playing on the back foot in the previous retake, but this time they're looking to really bring the aggression to the front line, literally going for the kill there, but eventually having to drop back now. They don't have the numbers advantage anymore, quite simply, as literally will claim yet another skull added to his collection. Fractured a little bit perhaps here on the map's namesake, no pun intended, as Rudy puts them down, but Stokesy goes one better. Same number of kills, but the impact is just a little bit greater. Insight up to 3 of their own now as well.
That was an opportunity for Next in Line, Hazard. That is one thing that we have to say.
Huge.
It was the fact that they had a foothold in the round. Realistically, the fact, another big thing to talk about, Insight's ability to fight back into that round.
Exactly that, right? You had 2 kills being taken immediately. I think that's something that had sort of glossed over in my brain when you saw it going into then a player disadvantage post-plant. Insight had already found a kill back in the door and then literally gets another one to even things up before it's even at a situation where Next in Line are actually being competitive for control of the site itself. The affair drags on just a little too much, and yeah, the advantage is now there. Looking into this one, still Cypher being played towards the A side of the map, and this is something which Insight have respected for the time being.
Respect being shown. Just waiting to see if there's any aggression coming out from Next in Line again. It seems if Insight are starting to get an idea.
They've already taken the whole top side of the map here, Next in Line. Moving in behind them on towards Dish, there's a split push being prepared here by Insight, but it just depends what that will come to. It's going to be Zeko instead to just take a couple heads clean off. Pika wants to get involved with the action as well, and Insight Gaming falling apart at the seams. Literally can snatch a kill back, but Anguist has a flank to worry about, one which he may not even be aware of until finally the guiding light comes through. There's the first shot. It's Rudy. Knows that the Sky player is still on their back, but the front line is being dealt with. Literally in for yet another kill. And they might just look to double dip, partner up as a duo here and fight the isolated Jaco towards the backside. First sound cue on towards the cage, still lurking in the depths, gets his first, but Litchi's there again. 3 beasts for him, and now knows exactly where his opponent stands in the 1 versus 1. Or might not actually.
Spike still needs to be committed. Finally, Litchi does see the opponent. The opposing number doesn't have a guiding light of their own. Oh, Zemps tried to try and bait with a flash, didn't pop it, and that's what's cost him.
Did you see that flash?
Yeah, it was crazy.
So like a seal on a beach, right? or like a beach whale or something, just flapping about on the ground. I don't know what that is, but yeah, Stemp not able to capitalize, and that's a huge round. If you are Litchi right now.
But at the same time, what has happened again? Insight being able to fight back from nothing. Next in Line, yes, they're aggressive, yes, they're setting themselves up perfectly, but these advantages, losing out on them, that's between a great team and a good team.
A difference between a good and a great team, as I was just about to put it, is that sometimes when you're on the defender's side, you need to know when it's time to reel it in. Okay, guys, we have our numbers. There's no reason to go look fighting for anything more, because Insight, they were backed into a corner, but they're still able to find a way to turn the round. A crunch towards the other side of the map this time around. Well, a crunch to say more than anything else, because both sides of the map have been contested. Attacker spawn already compromised, and from this position, Insight are looking to just circle back round towards B through Arcade.
No, the whole of B completely given up here. The Seekers might not necessarily be getting much from that. They'll at least be able to identify, like, oh, there's players out on main, etc., and that's exactly what's happened here. I mean, this post plan, I think, will be so good for Insight because they have so much time to set up.
This Cosmic Divide will eventually expire, however, and there is already some information on the presence of these players. Ego looking to go for something a little more aggressive. Sat inside the Nebula, the Flash comes out, not tempted to peek just yet, wants to wait. Flash inside the smoke this time around. Rudy perhaps prepared for it, but nothing can prepare you for Ego's Vandal, it seems. Even if you have him flash, he might just take your life.
Way.
Gets it anyway onto Stemp, and this one already looking curtains. I mean, Cairo, coming into this one, you said, oh, I'm not too happy with us casting a Fracture game, but are you not entertained?
I'm certainly entertained, Tazza. I'm entertained by these two teams. I think maybe, do you know what it is? It's Fracture. What? I've got a little bit of PTSD with this map, so
yeah.
We'll not talk about it too much.
There may or may not have been a 38-round game that we had casted previous on this map. So
I think we should focus on this 7 round.
We definitely should.
Because there is a timeout.
Yes, there is indeed. And it is a timeout for Next in Line. No real surprises there. We know that Next in Line are quite happy to use those timeouts as well. Get Darb involved if they have to. Rudy has already been credited quite a lot by the coach for being such a good IGL, and this is a test of character. The biggest game that you have played so far in the tournament. Yeah, it's groups, it's a best of one, can be hard to overturn these results, but you know, a character of a good team is being able to do so. Keep that record going. Yeah. You have some decent ults to work with here. They're going to have a bye as well. I'm just starting to think a little bit about what's gone wrong in the last couple rounds.
I mean, again, there's stuff that we've already highlighted. The losing advantages, the fact that we've seen scenarios in which we should basically be thinking Next in Line should have won that. You could probably take 2 rounds off Insight and put them towards Next in Line, realistically, at this stage, I would say. And there would be a 4-3 half. As well as that, one of those rounds was a thrifty.
That is true, right? But you're in it to win it. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the lottery. We're seeing Insight setting up from both sides of the maps this time around. They've flexed this setup quite a few times, and we see teams very commonly have their Sentinel player lurking away from the rest of the pack, and Anguis is trying to hold things down towards spawn, but it doesn't really matter. He's on a vacation at this point in time. He's still getting his paycheck, or round equivalency, I guess you could say, as Insight look to be finding these kills towards Dish, and Jaff running straight in finds his counterpart in the form of Pika.
Both teams fighting over an ultimate orb. That's essentially what it is. I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing, but it shows you the importance of it. The players start to bust onto the site. Has a Next in Line have fought back, although it seems as if Insight have managed to gain the advantage back.
We spoke about how Next in Line had struggled when they had their advantages, but even when you don't, Anguist is on your backside. Jaiko here able to find a kill back, position compromised. Neural Theft should pulse off 2 times as long as they're still left standing at least, and that will be a chance for the round in itself. I'm wondering if Anguis will try and play a double fake on this or just fully commit to the B plant. It seems as if that will be the case. Goes for quite an open one, in fact, because we do have that rotate coming through from Jaff in Arcade. He'll just double up towards tower side.
Yeah, there's already mollies been put on the bomb and alarm bot as
Jaiko
well.
knows.
Yeah, and seen everything. Potentially could go through Arcade, but that's where most of these players are.
Yeah.
Put your knife away, son. Come on, you need to be ready to fight at any moment's notice.
It actually just walks around the alarm bot, I thought, but it does get triggered. Would have loved to have seen Jaiko just try and find any kind of window to make it possible, but it's already slipped his mind. The Nano Swarm buying more precious time, of which Next in Line just do not have enough. Fault Line coming through to support a peak, not even half yet, and Anguis will finish him off. 6-2. That was such another really like 50-50 round. Yeah. You had the initial kills found by Insight towards Dish. I'm expecting them to freeze there. There's no anticipation that you then hit the site with that rotate coming through from Next in Line, but they do it. It's sort of a glance over the head almost, because in that situation, it then becomes, you know, doable again for Next in Line, but suddenly Anguis activates from this flank and they see it out.
Yeah, I mean, now looking at this, Eco, what's the set play? Because next in line have had a few set plays up their sleeve, Hazard. We've seen them. We've seen them work. I wonder what it is this time.
It looks to be a lot more heavy on the A control. We've seen next in line have control of the A main position on many, many rounds. They're forfeiting Dish this time around. It's like you said in the previous, it's like quarrelling over the last crisp in the bowl. Oh, they really want that ultimate orb, but no, the value is that much more. We're seeing Insight Gaming with a few ultimates here to work with. Lockdown will be the key. Of course, there is no counterplay when you look at the agents that we do have.
I think the jig is up because the Jet just peeked out, destroyed the alarm bot. And with that, they know exactly, hey, we think there's a stack here, let's start to move away. And even Anguish knows the players are moving into a free site once again.
From what we've seen from Insight so far on their attack, they don't very often like to just hit straight into a site. If you have that initial contact and the plant isn't coming almost immediately afterwards, then the chances are they're looking to try and play through other areas of the map, or at least Anguish will on the flank. So already cleared out most of the site for his team to get the spike on down. It still hasn't, but finally the kills come through. Literally at the double, as he has done so many times. A few Sheriff shots will rain off. 3 versus 1, not the most comfortable of scenarios, but Jaco will have to come up with something top draw if this is even to look likely. And there we have it. Contact already presented. Jaff with the fault line and a preparation here for Ego to peak.
Yeah, and there's already a player in arcade as well. It's Stokesy. Yep, there's
Brilliant.
the spam. Ego as well. Playing together, no point risking any more rifles lost. And I mean, that economy's already bolstered. They don't need to do that, but it's just the kind of, how to put it, the mental fortitude that they have to do things right and not just peak.
And we said before, next in line like to introduce these timeouts. We saw them use one earlier in the half already, so for a best of one, you don't have an overtime. You don't have to worry about saving a timeout for an overtime. You get a bonus one anyway if it does go the distance. You just want to get far enough in the first place. We need to be looking at how many more rounds they should be picking up here. I think you want, ideally, well, best case scenario, 3 more, but I think 2 would make it possible. Anything less than that with the cycle of ultimates that Insight have available for them, I think it's really whoever gets the best, whoever draws the best set of hands here when you look at what ultimates we have, how many get invested, and who can make the best of that situation.
I really like this setup here from Jaiko. He's got most of the control on site with the camera just watching in towards the arcade area. If that's going to be a push, if there's going to be a luck, etc. There is going to be a rolling thunder. This is a very quick attempt at trying to take, and the fact that that Cypher's lost is massive. The rolling thunder missed, so, and there is also the investment of the lockdown. It's 4 versus 4, but Insight have invested more.
This is exactly what I was saying, though. Ultimates have been invested, and I expect next in line to probably throw the kitchen sink at this towards the retake. Whoever ends up winning this round is probably looking good to then move on for whatever their ambitions are for the rest of the half. It's looking to be Insight, as it has done for the majority of this half. Zeko wants to try and get a word in, as he just trade back on towards Jaff, and there we have it. Seekers and Cosmic Divide coming through. Rudy looking to try and clear tower. The angle not so favourable, but just about getting it done. 1 versus 2, needs to move to the corner, but Anguist will not even allow it to happen. Nano Swarm one way, the man himself the other. Immovable force, unstoppable object. Pretty sure it's the other way around, but look, all of these theories and whatnot go out the window when you look at how they've been playing.
It is turning into a bit of a train wreck so far for next in line. And it's becoming that situation, Hazard, where we slowly start to approach the point of no return.
I would perhaps like to see this next timeout used. It's realistically going to be the other side of the half. I think even if this goes, 9-2 now and you're looking towards 10-2, I don't see next in line committing it just yet. This is a round that they have invested in, however. Zeko on what is looking to be a hero Vandal amongst other weaponry. Pika does have one of his own, and Rudy's playing the trigger. Discipline needs to get a little bit more, but only finds 1. Good enough. Next in line are just about in the lead in terms of player count. They don't have control of the spike, and those players looking low.
Listen, this is where next in line need to take their foot off the gas pedal.
Jaco.
But
Soaksy, no idea.
Oh no.
Posters to the corner.
This is the opportunity. The spike can go down, and it does. Anguist either needs to come all the way through B, through the Cypher setup, or go through, has to go Anguish has to either go through the Cypher setup or go over the line where he's going to be inaccurate.
It's like Tough Mudder. There's ropes and wires and different barbed bits that you've got to like jump over and climb under. And yeah, now going for the zip line. Anguish, you've got to be kidding. Dropped into the underworld. Jaco, the gatekeeper. There we have it, next in line, big round to be finding. I said, you know, 8-4 is the bare minimum that you need to be taking here if this is to look somewhat doable, and they get it in the round that they're not supposed to.
No, they really are not supposed to get it, and now they've given themselves a lifeline for the next half.
Maybe those pistols are just feeling a bit more like home after finding the first couple of rounds, I don't know.
Do I get to see it? Is this when I get to see it, the pistol fever?
Yeah, look, honestly, mate. We need to get you a thermometer because you got pistol fever all the time, it seems.
No, the point I was going to say is, while we've seen next in line be aggressive, etc., one thing you have to say is Insight Gaming's comp is very set up to combat that with the breach, etc.
Yeah.
As soon as they feel that contact, that aggressiveness, there you go, fault line straight in.
I mean, you look at what they have to try and counter one another. You're fighting fire with fire. These comps go blow for blow. They are effectively the same. It's just what exactly you're trying to do. Like you said, those set reactions and setups with the team. And Insight Gaming, when they go to post, usually look pretty strong. That was one of the few rounds where they didn't get the spike planted, but in towards the execute can still make good use of the utility. Not if Ego drops into the trap wire. Jaff can trade out Rudy inside the site, but there are still players that lay in wait. Jaco in tower has to hold things down, but loses control out to the Sentinel the opposite way.
The players in CT though, Hazza, they're so quick and ready, but that might not be a good idea. Literally already punishing Pika for peeking out.
You might even want to save the guns at this point. One more round to try and go for it. There's barely any weapons. Oh wait, it's the last round. Never mind, forget it. There's no opportunity to do so. You've got to send absolutely everything in. I was just about to say, I think the words that I've just put out somewhat reflect the tone of this round because they are fighting a losing battle. Litchi finds both, 3 for him, and only 3 rounds for next in line coming out the half.
Well, we were talking about this before. We've been at this situation, Hazza, and you said 60%. Oh no, that was on split. Never mind. I'm talking rubbish.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what map. I think, as far as I'm aware, the statistic goes that if you have a 9-3 lead, there's a 60% chance that it can be overturned with the bonus round 1 as well, right? There's an opportunity. You've got to win the pistol, anti-eco, and the bonus. I'm not entirely sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it might be 60% for the team that is leading 9-3. So as in, it's not a done deal. You've just got over half at that point in time. So look, we will have to see what next in line can do here to turn things around. But it starts with that pistol fever.
Yeah, it does. But no, pistol fever, not yet. The point I was going to say is, next in line were pretty decent on their pistol last time. They're a bit reserved, not what we're used to seeing.
Look at this from Insight. We saw next in line on their pistol from the defender's side go for some aggression. Insight Gaming want to go for that instant double up. They've split bridge from both sides, but Zeko's posted in the corner and managing to cause a lot of problems. Was out on his ones and has left the rest of next in line to now take the A site in a split between Sand and Main.
But the thing is though, Hazza, if you're next in line, you'd take that trade because that's Stokesy gone. That is your controller gone.
It certainly is. Now the retake looking to be a little more difficult. Insight are able to find the first kill, have a nice push into spawn. Pika needs to find just a little bit more. Gets the first kill, but can't quite squeeze out the second. Might not matter too much, but that spike is not planted for them. If Insight can find a way to make it through the middle of this crossfire and get towards the site, it's a 1v1, but the opportunity simply is not there. Pika and Stemp, the two flashers with their flashy plays, just getting it done in a little bit more of a conservative fashion, buying as much time as possible. Out comes Stemp and out comes the round.
Massive round, and it all came from that one play out on Bridge, Hazza. That's the momentum, that's the kind of the foot off the chop blocks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that they're able to get Stokesy of all people, in terms of utility, you could not ask for a better pick.
It's like a game of hangman when you're like writing in each letter and you're starting to build up that picture. Is it looking damned or is it not? Do next in line have an opportunity here? It started with the pistol. That was imperative to their chances here.
Yeah.
We're now looking at what kind of weapons we have. As Rudy is on a Guardian again, you save this through to the next, you got a good chance.
Yeah.
Oh, the damage.
Anguist already taking a boat's load and knows exactly where these people are. A nice little tank, but it doesn't matter.
Next in line only know that corner too well from the kills they found on the Thrifty, which sparked the ignition in any form of a comeback here. Do they still want to commit towards the site? The rotate has come through in full.
I don't think they're going to commit to this.
No.
I think they're just
You can just cut noise and freeze. I think right now, next in line, first mission. Let's see if anyone has moved up towards bridge. Jaco also just circling back, but they haven't kept anyone dish. So this is now starting to feel like it will be that B split, but Insight Gaming are starting to get an idea of this themselves as we are seeing that rotate come through from Litchi.
Yeah, Insight also need to re-clear all of A main out in towards the attacker spawn because they don't know if it is just a cut noise and re-hit A. They've finally got the idea, but on top of that, next in line already have the site. They've already set up their post plant. Again, really tough.
Yeah. And looking in towards the next few rounds as well, next in line, they want to keep this clean, but this could get incredibly messy. So many players into this compounded pot of molten gunfire. It has a potential to be very, very dangerous. You want those weapons hot if that bonus is to be promising. And right now, I think Insight Gaming just want to pin them back. There's absolutely no drive to send it into the site itself, more just to stop these players from being able to escape. But Stemp has the key that opens the door. Stokesy's head goes wide open, and now they start to push towards spawn.
Yeah, already we're seeing it. Lit! Oh my god, and they're making it work! Insight Gaming, do they have the time? I don't think so,
no, they don't.
It is just momentarily flash in the pan stuff. Insight Gaming, my goodness.
I outlined what it was there. Do some damage as the players make their way out the site. Next in line, choose to go for the spawn route. And on the replay here, slow it down and watch it back one more time. Litchi able to combine two heads, rope them together and chain that headshot. Brilliantly done, but yeah, you're just pointing out the buy doesn't look to have been rocked too hard.
The buy for both teams here is really, really interesting. A lot of players on light shields. This is really a gamble round for both teams.
For this, it's Insight Gaming looking to see out an advantage which they already have, and next in line opening the door of possibility to getting back into the game. The setup for the Sentinel in the form of Anguist is going to be towards B, which means there is a few more players on this A defense, however.
Seeker's now up and available. Jaff, the only one really in straight contact. The Jet is behind, but
we've seen next in line take this orb towards Dish multiple times now as well. They're both teams valuing it quite a lot, and yeah, the Seeker's brought online to make this hit happen.
Now already here, the breach utility coming out as the fault line momentarily had the option to take out Zeko, but they won't get a chance. Updrafting straight into the top. Rudy gets one back and so does Pika. Next in line take the advantage for this site take, but the players, two of which have to rotate through. That's from Insight.
But you can't forget about Jaff. It may just be the last mistake you make because he's still alive within the site. Finds one, looking for the second to Rudy. Just about escapes him, and on the repeat, the position is compromised. Trade's coming back, but Insight actually just winning it out. The spike hadn't made its way to the site itself simply because of Jaff's position, playing spoiler to his teammates. And Anguish spraying through the smoke denies Rudy to even cross the nebula and give him half a chance in the round. This was the turning point perhaps for next in line, but instead they turn on their heel and go back to their old ways.
Rather than going for a bonus round, next in line decided let's go all in with their economy. That is them reduced to an eco, and yes, we've seen lovely set plays from them, but was that maybe just a little bit too much of a gamble?
I'm not too sure. I mean, the execute looked right. Everything was okay about it. It's just then ferrying the spike in towards the site itself. There's no smokes up for Rudy to get his teammates in behind, and damage dealt. Zeko already straight in towards B, just looking to go for the fast plant. Get some extra credits injected to the pocket, but not going to happen. Ends up leaving him isolated on an island as the support continues to trickle away, and there we have it. The players trickle in the site and, well, trickle back to spawn, I imagine.
Yeah, they will be. Trickling ever so slowly. And maybe, again, I can't help but feel with that last round, allowing Insight to kind of trampoline themselves forward here.
Yeah, and we see how Insight, even on the low buys that they had like that, or, you know, barely even an investment to speak of, we're still looking to try and play for an orb, do something right, make there be a merit from which you can build your next round. And coming into this one, this is it, do or die. You lose this round, you're looking at a match point, everything that you could possibly invest, and even then the loss bonus hasn't hit the heights that you would want it to have. I mean, do you want the loss bonus to go up, Max? I mean, that's almost a paradoxical question in itself, but here we are.
I think as well, Hazza, when we look back towards that executing that last round, realistically, next in line were playing for the post plant. They got the jet dash in, but the thing is though, I mean, you really are gambling again with that play, because all it takes is a spam, all it takes is the breach aftershock, and that spike plant has to be delayed.
A is the decision yet again, but this time it's a bit heavier on the main side. I think one of those issues they had was trying to make it out of dish in towards the site, which is why the spike struggled to get itself planted. It's Jaco solo this time around, but has been stuck in the corner. Literally is holding the cross, knows he isn't here, and they can actually just chase him down as two players, pushing all the way out to bridge, using the Trailblazer to bite away at his heels as he scampers into the distance. But instead it's going to be the zipline. That is also being accounted for as Stokesy finds him on the opposite side of the map, but the site has been taken.
Well, Hazza, let's look at this post plan. Look at how Insight Gaming have set themselves up. The Seeker's already used and everything being committed to this. They're taking this site clinically, but this is massive. Oh my goodness, the Rolling Thunder comes out, but Stokesy from main does the work that he needs to do. That is going to be Insight taking 12 and next in line relegated to an eco for match point.
There was so much going on in that previous round. My play-by-play began to head over towards the other side of the map because you had Jaco getting chased up towards bridge, and then you see it there on the replay just for a moment, headed on the zip line towards Stokesy. Stokesy then coming in from main, but going for that late clear, finding the kills, and not being involved whatsoever with that Rolling Thunder, which you said could have delivered huge value. But yet again, it's a situation of all of these factors could have amounted to more, but quite frankly, they did not.
It's the post plant as well. Like, I mean, out of the, if you look
at that
map,
the main control.
Yeah, they didn't have the main control. It was planted for main, but who's out there to do the work? Nobody. Yes, you're counting on the Cypher, but you need more if you're going. That's what you're going to plant it for.
How do next in line respond? 7 match points to keep that undefeated streak going, and well, even then, you're playing a bet on overtime, a 50-50 red or black, and right now, we're going to have to see something probably land on green because it's not feeling whatsoever like it will be going their way. And Insight Gaming are fed up. They want to get this done and over with as quickly as possible.
Yaf.
The flank is in hot and fast. Yaf heating things up just a little bit more.
Spike's also in the control of these defenders, has it. Jaco needs to be massive.
Here he is. Jaff looking to take out that final kill. Jaco takes the head, but can't quite find anything more than just that and will drop the round. 13-5, Insight Gaming are able to run away with this one. It started off good for next in line, but they just couldn't carry on from their beginnings.
I think after a lot of matches, we have came out of it saying there's a lot of promise. We are seeing this roster show good signs. I think next in line are potentially the kind of, I would say, the second best roster that we have seen to Insight.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the reason why we had them on the stream, right? Because there's so much quality, I think, within the Beacon circuit, but sometimes it's just about being able to extrapolate that and really have it reformed and working well together, because the quality's there, definitely in terms of players as well, mechanical ability, reading of the game. I mean, Rudy, playing in that IGL role was top fragging for them, but I think that's also a problem of itself. As the IGL, it's a lot of the time your responsibility to be taking the pressure off of your players and offering that outlet for them to just thrive as much as possible. Not saying that that's not what he did, because, I mean, when you're in that position, you're only doing what you can. But Zeko, a player which I commented on coming into this, I just expected a little bit more. I mean, he ended up 7 and 18, but then, like you said, it is the mid-round, because I'm looking here, he had 5 first bloods, more than anyone else in the server. He's able to create the space, it's just what you do with it afterwards that maybe isn't falling into place. It's just a myriad of factors that I can't quite...
It is that, and with next in line, again, I feel as if I'm repeating myself constantly. This team is one to watch. This is only the first event, We have so much more to go through, and on top of that, with the fact that we've got I'm really looking forward to how this team develops.
Yeah.
I think Insight are an amalgamation of a team last weekend, which have that experience, which have that qualities. They've been coached by some of the best available at this level, and now they're basically primed and ready to go. They're not the complete package, but they basically could be.
Yeah, like you said, Pika has come into the next in line roster, and they said, oh, it feels like a completely new team. And sometimes it takes a while to adjust to these changes, but it has been a bit quicker of a turnaround for Insight Gaming. I think the building blocks are definitely there. You have two very substantial pillars of what was the old Fort of Beacon as we knew it, but it's gone a little more crusty now. There are sort of dregs here and there. It's starting to crumble apart. It's not the same picture that it was. That's why you've got me and Cairo here to paint the fresh one, and that we will do. Another best of one coming up for you guys after the break. This one, a resounding victory for Insight Gaming, and that will certainly feel good for their confidence. We'll have to see how it develops as the rest of the games play out. But we will be going to a short break. When we return, we have another best of one for you. I believe it's Pablo's Kittens versus Looney.
The West, a fistful of men ride for the Black Water.
Unsettling tone lingers in the air. The sound makes the horses shriek in fear. From above, piercing thunder roars. The earth